Ms. Shope has been accorded a special official funeral with military honors, and we'll just chat a bit about that now, and we'll bring in Rear Admiral Mokgadi Mapoto, who is a director of Ceremonial at the South African National Defence Force. Rear Admiral, thank you very much indeed for your time. So talk to us a bit about, I know that special official funeral with military honors obviously means that due to the caliber of the person, there is, the military is tasked, with a ceremonial parade, if I'm correct. Just talk to us a bit about what that involves.
Good morning and thank you very much. The ceremonial support to the funeral of this caliber being pronounced by the Commander-in-Chief and the President of the country as the Category 1 state funeral with full military honors involves the military ceremonial parade, which involves the National Ceremonial Guard, which is going to be the guard for this parade. Including that will be our leading detachment that is going to be part of the parade, and there is the gun carriage that where the late Ma'am Gertrude will be put on as part of the military ceremony. And there will be the drills of the military here at the venue to show the respect that the late Ma'am Gertrude deserves, and as accorded by the President of the Republic and the government of South Africa.
Yeah, and this is in light of the fact that she was one of the leaders of the ANC's military wing, Umkhonto weSizwe. That is why you have this honor that is being bestowed upon her.
Well, I think the respect comes from her involvement in the struggle for liberation.
Yes.
And her involvement in the government, and all the members or the people of South Africa who deserves this is determined by the government and the president. So her involvement was such significant that the government and cabinet and the president saw it fit that she deserved to get these honors from the military. This is the highest order of the that can be given by the president to one of the people that has contributed immensely to the liberation of the country.
And indeed, the Commander-in-Chief, we do see there are some dignitaries that are arriving here once again. Already we have seen the former President Kgalema Motlanthe arriving. We've seen the former President Thabo Mbeki arriving. We've also seen him arriving with, and I see a number of the mourners heading towards the front section where the VIPs are arriving. I'm just going to try and stretch. I'll ask my colleagues to show you those visuals of the arrivals at this stage. And I think as we await for more arrivals of the mourners that are arriving for the final send-off. And indeed, it is President Cyril Ramaphosa who is arriving now for this send-off. Samkele, let's go to you.
As you can see, Griselda, the President of South Africa, President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, alongside the Premier of the province, Panyaza Lusufi, has arrived. He is going to deliver the eulogy of May Gertrude Shope. The President, as during the course of the week, been...
Very well, how are you?
As you can see, the President there saying that he is in good spirits, he is well. He will go and deliver the eulogy, Griselda, of May Gertrude Shope. The struggle still to knowing that May Gertrude Shope is a former trade unionist. President Ramaphosa himself coming from the ranks of the trade union movement. May Gertrude Shope coming from a family of strong struggle stalwarts who played a pivotal role in the issues pertaining to...
But it is also a moment for celebration, celebrating someone who has had almost 10 decades. It's a great achievement in our lives these days. And to celebrate someone of gigantic figure like Ma Shope is even an added way of celebrating a real life that was led in struggling and in helping our people get liberation. So I'm sad, but I'm also overjoyed.
Do you feel like the ANC's lived up to the promise of what she created and defined in those early struggle years, coming back to take up such prominent leadership roles within the party?
Yes, she has. She has. And she saw to it that we have a constitution that we now have that gives everybody the rights that we all enjoy. And it's not that all the rights have been fulfilled yet. But we've got a platform, we've got a foundation on which to build a better future. And she saw to it that that is achieved, and that's what she struggled for. But of course, she also struggled that we should have a better life. And that struggle continues. It was never going to be a one-day, 10-year, 20-year struggle. It's a lifelong struggle. And we continue to live by the principles that she taught us, and we will keep on that path of making sure that the rights that she fought for are fulfilled.
Mr. President, when you look at that gallant generation of Gertrude Shope, you look at Albertina Sisulu and many others, it's effectively the end of an era. What does it signify for the ordinary South African, for the woman sitting in Mdantsane, sitting in Appelspoch, that was looking at these women spearheading their struggles?
Yes, indeed, the passing of Ma Shope and the passing of other gallant leaders like Mama Albertina, Mama Winnie Mandela, Matikizela, it's also a passing of an era. But the important thing is that they bore the torch. They were torchbearers, and they are now passing it on to the younger generation that is going to take that same torch and take it forward. And hopefully, and this I believe firmly, that torch should not and will not be dimmed. It will be a torch that will keep on being passed down the generations. Like we inherited a torch that we were handed over by the great Nelson Mandela, O.R. Tambo, we're taking that torch forward. Sometimes stumbling and falling, but forever rising and holding that torch high. Thank you.
Any word from the White House?
No. No White House today.
That is effectively the president of the African National Congress and president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. You can just hear the engagement that he's having with our colleague Sophie Mukwena. They are engaging particularly on the events that transpired at the White House, and also some of the most important points. You know, Sophie is an advent lover of international relations. You can see some of the points they are engaging on would be issues pertaining to the United States of America and how the president is feeling, particularly after that engagement. I am going to bring in Sophie Mukwena, who is our editor of international relations. Sophie, just the essence of your engagement with the president and some of the points that he's raising.
No, he was talking about the trip to the U.S., asking about how it, my views, and I've been talking about the fact that I think it was a mixed bag. I think in terms of how the South African delegation conducted themselves, it was how diplomacy is being handled. But I think also the fact that the doors are now opened. When you look at last night, when President Trump had a briefing with Elon Musk, there was a time or a moment where President Trump said Elon is from a country that is going through trials and tribulations. This time around, he didn't say he's coming from that country where bad things are happening. Neither did he talk about white genocide. So you can see that there's some progress in trying to communicate what is happening on the ground. And we know that there are people from the US who are very close to President Trump who are in the country, and we've had their views. Now they are beginning to have a different view in terms of what's happening on the ground. So I think the president wanted to hear my analysis and my perspective, and I was saying I think it was a mixed bag, and he looks happy in terms of what transpired there, and he even indicated that they are happy.
When you look at some of the engagements he had with us here now on Mayor Gertrude Shope, particularly on that generation, that era of Albertina Sisulu, of many other struggle stalwarts, Ruth Mompati, that generation has departed, Winnie Madikizela-Mandela, whom you covered extensively as well. If you look at this closing of this era, what does it signify for ordinary women like yourself as well, hailing from the Free State province?
Well, I think we spoke to Ms. Sophie de Bruyn, and that clip, we will carry that clip later today. Our digital colleagues were able to capture her, and I did a doorstop. It's humbling. It's closing of a chapter, and the same words that were uttered by the president to say we are handing over. That's exactly what she said. And she spoke not only me, Sophie de Bruyn, when I spoke to her outside, to the women in the ANC, but she spoke to young women in the country saying this is your moment, continue to fight. The emancipation of women is quite important. The same was said by the former president of South Africa, Mbeki, when he arrived. So you can see the message is from all of them. I was saying to somebody, at this funeral, you have the real old ANC people, and they have a similar message.
Thank you very much, Sophie. I am going to link to my colleagues who are speaking to the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula.
Democratic dispensation. And also happened to serve. So we are very much grateful to her life, almost 100 years, a century. And we say long live to her, and condolences to the family, all comrades and loved ones.
Mr. Mbalula, she was for the struggle for the emancipation of women, that is something that was very important to her. I mean, we saw her become one of the first women to serve on the ANC's National Executive Committee. Was that a precursor to the kind of society that she wanted to see? Women representation in all structures?
She was not the first to serve in the National Executive, among the first. Yes, indeed, she championed the cause, and all her actions speak for themselves. She was right there to ensure that our country adheres to gender, and then a strong advocate for gender parity even in the movement. So women must say thanks to people like Mam Shope today, that women's issues and women's leadership is on top agenda of the African National Congress.
Was the struggle, though, Mr. Mbalula, in vain? I mean, some of the challenges that women faced back then are still some of the challenges that are being faced by women today. We talk about gender-based violence and a number of issues. These are issues that the likes of Gertrude Shope try to ensure that women would never face. But today, those are challenges that are still beset by women in this country.
The struggle continues. We as society, as the liberation movement, ANC, we must lead and walk on the footsteps. It is not over. Women get, attacked, like we have seen just this past week. And that struggle continues. The laws must be tightened, and gender equality, gender parity must be deepened in the structures of our movement and society in general. Thank you very much.
The Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, arriving for the procession. We expect to arrive in just about a moment. And the Secretary General of the ANC is headed down the stairs to where this procession is arriving. And indeed, if you could stay with us on these visuals, the procession carrying the remains of Mayor Gertrude Shope are arriving now at the Wits Great Hall here in Johannesburg. And this is where the funeral service will be taking place. She was elected to the presidency of the ANC Women's League in 1991 and 1994, and becoming a member of the first Democratic Parliament. In 2014, she had been awarded Istalande Siparangwe, the highest honor of the ANC for those who had made an outstanding contribution and sacrifice to the liberation of South Africa. Born in 1925, you see President Cyril Ramaphosa at the bottom of the stairs here with Banyaza Lisufi as well as Fikile Mbalula. They will be receiving the remains of Gertrude Shope here at Wits University. Flags of the ANC also just flying way above in her honor here today. You know that Gertrude Shope grew up in Zimbabwe and completed her schooling there, subsequently doing a primary teacher's course that was in Salisbury. And she was born in 1925, one of 4 children born to Mary and John Moeketsi. Well, soon after her birth, her father was employed at an engineering firm in what was then called Southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. And she returned to South Africa in the mid-40s and went to teach at a school. In fact, it was Indaleni Secondary School in Natal and Pimville High School in Soweto. She joined the ANC in 1954, and as a result of what she had witnessed, including youngsters being made to sell their labor, going hungry, and searching rubbish bins for food, her goal was to work for a society that was democratic and just. And her remains have now finally arrived at Wits University. And this is where the funeral service, you'll see President Cyril Ramaphosa. President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, is going to deliver that eulogy. Let me bring in my colleague Samkele Maseko as well.
Well, Griselda, when you look at her remains, and her coffin is draped in the colors of the black, green and gold that she joined at a very young age. She was one of the first women who joined the ANC's Umkhonto Wesizwe. She had joined the ANC in 1954. But if you look at the history that he and the incumbent president share, they both come from the trade union movement. You remember at the time in the 80s, particularly during the days of the United Democratic Front, that wildcat strike in the 80s of the National Union of Mine Workers, the mobilization that was taking place within the shop floor to conscientize South Africans about the struggle of our country, and particularly getting the workers to rally behind the formation of the Congress of South African Trade Unions. You'd also remember that her husband as well is a former trade unionist. So it is a family of struggle stalwarts, a family of those who fought for not only the ordinary South Africans in the villages, in the townships, but also fought for issues of workers on the shop floor.
And I mean, Samkele, her resolve to ensuring that there had been fair treatment of workers, women's emancipation. She was the caliber of woman who I understand at the age of 29 remembered she'd gone to school in Zimbabwe. And at the age of 29, she decided to resign from her teaching post due to the introduction of Bantu education. This is someone who was steadfast in saying she wouldn't stand for a system that oppressed our people.
She was one of those particularly who steadfast in saying that she will never endorse a system that oppressed South Africans. But also, if you look at the history of Zimbabwe and South Africa, as you can see some of the visuals where the family members or some of the kids taking visuals with the president, the family of Gertrude Shope is now effectively greeting with the President of the African National Congress and the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. If you can just look at that somber moment where the President shares his condolences with the family, knowing the rich history that the President also shares with the Shope family. But just speaking on the point of Gertrude Shope being a teacher, the role that Zimbabwe also played in the liberation struggle of South Africa. Just try and get some.
Greeting the family as they arrive with the cortege. President Cyril Ramaphosa sharing a moment with the Shope family as the cortege will now make its way into the Great Hall. The President sharing a moment with the Shope family as the remains have arrived.
But as I was saying, the importance of the role that Zimbabwe has played to South Africa. Remember, the first public servants in the democratic government of Zimbabwe, they were South African politicians now. They were the doctors, they were the teachers who were working in the first administration in Zimbabwe in preparing South Africans to take over a government when South Africa gets its own freedom from the apartheid regime, which just speaks about the importance of these countries, particularly within the SADC region. The Secretary General of the African National Congress, Fikile Mbalula, alongside the co-convener of the ANC in Gauteng, Panyazi Lusufi, will now receive the remains of Gertrude Shope, because at this point in time it is still Griselda draped in the colors of the African National Congress. It will then go inside to be draped in the colors of South Africa.
Absolutely, Samkele, and you would recall, of course, if we look at the rich history that Shope had in terms of the fight for democracy in South Africa. You would recall that it was in 1966, Samkele, that the ANC and Bram Fischer had convinced her to leave South Africa and join her husband, Mark Shope, in exile. And she left through Botswana, we understand, and ended up in Zambia. And Samkele, we've heard many conversations about how female competence, there were children in those areas, but these were women who were competent, but while they had to fulfill motherly roles, they were on the ground ensuring that the world knew about the atrocities that were happening in South Africa outside of this country's borders.
But you look particularly at the role women have played within the liberation struggle. Gertrude Shope, amongst many who were in exile. You look at your Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zumas, you look at your Lindiwe Zulus and your Lindiwe Sisulus, ultimately who went out into the camps either in Zambia, in other countries as well, in Zimbabwe, in Tanzania. And you also just go back and you look at some of the points that were raised by Chris Hani in his Chris Hani memorandum going towards the Morogoro conference of the African National Congress, where the likes of Gertrude Shope played an important and pivotal role. You go to the issues pertaining how they were charged as co-conspirators in the Rivonia trial alongside the likes of Ben Terok, the likes of Govan Mbeki, the likes of the repatriated former Secretary General of the African National Congress, Dumano Okwe, who died and was buried in Zambia in Lusaka and was just being repatriated. And that just speaks to the caliber of the people Gertrude Shope worked with. You look at the likes of Albertina Sisulu, Ruth Mombati, and many others who played a pivotal role, Ruth Bengu, who played a pivotal role within the liberation struggle. These women who were able to bring back the ANC Women's League into the country, relaunch the structures of the ANC Women's League, but also pioneer the struggle of young women to have the dignity of sanitary towels whenever they would go on their cycles, which is one of the campaigns Gertrude Shope, when she became a member of parliament, when she was a minister, those are some of the issues she spearheaded for young women to benefit from, amongst many other issues she fought for, which also couples with her work within the labor movement as well.
All right, we see the clergy there that will lead this procession, and the coffin of Gertrude Shope into the Secretary General of the ANC, now greeting the clergy together with Panyaza Lesufi, and this will signal the moment that this coffin will head inside the Wits Great Hall. This is where the funeral service will get underway in just about a moment.
Indeed, Criselda, it is a very somber moment. Particularly, this is the part where her remains are effectively now being handed to the African National Congress by the clergy and the family, where inside the Secretary General of the African National Congress will receive the flag of the black, green and gold of the ANC, and then ultimately will take that particular flag and hand it over to the family, signifying the appreciation of the ANC, of the life, the sacrifices that the Shope family has made through their mother, their grandmother, a struggle stalwart, a leader in her own right, a leader that is nowadays very distinguished away from her husband, Mark Shope. We are remembering her for her own gallant strides within the liberation struggle, her own strides within serving the people of South Africa, which has become to be very rare within our country.
All right, the clergy will bring in as well my colleagues Mzwandile Mbeche as well as Bongiwe Zwane, who are joining our broadcast, and it seems the funeral, in fact, the coffin is now being taken out of the hearse, and we'll pause for this moment.
If we live, we live to the Lord. If we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's.
Yehova sazisa ukuba imihla yethu ukuze sizuze inhliziyo enguquko.
I know that my Redeemer lives, and at last and after my skin has been destroyed, then from my flesh I shall see God.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth my soul for his name's sake. Goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Officers must also come. Remember when you go outside, you must go inside. The officers
Guys,
Praise the Lord.
Can you come?
Those who believe in me, though he dies, he shall live.
Who save the flags?